Well, some new backlash against the president's gun control plan today. A survivor from the Columbine high school shooting is now speaking out in opposition, arguing that the president's proposed initiatives simply won't work. You may remember, of course, Colorado's Columbine massacre in 1999. 2 students roaming the school, shooting and killing 13 people, 12 of them students and 1 a teacher. Dozens of others were injured. In an open letter to the president, one of those survivors, Evan Todd, writes this, quote, "The evidence is very clear pertaining to the inadequacies of the assault weapons ban. It had little to no effect when it was in place from 1994 until 2004. It was during this time that I personally witnessed 2 fellow students murder 12 of my classmates and 1 teacher. The assault weapons ban did not deter these 2 murderers, nor did the other 30-something laws that they broke." The writer of this letter, the survivor of Columbine, Evan Todd, joins me now. Evan, it's quite a letter, and you bring a very unique perspective to this conversation. And if you would, can you bring us back to that day in high school? And what happened to you on that day? Tell us about that.
Well, during the shootings at Columbine, I was in the library. I was the first student that was targeted. I was shot at, hit in the back once, and then 2 other shots went over my head and blew shrapnel back into my face. The murderers came in, and that's when 10 students and 20-some other students were injured. After all that happened, they came back around to where I was hiding under a desk and put guns to my head and asked why they shouldn't kill me. And that's when I told them I'd been good to them and everyone in the school, and they knew it. After a few moments, they decided to let me live, and they left the library at that time, and that's when I got out.
I'm sure our viewers feel the same way I do listening to that story, which is that our hearts start just racing, just hearing about it. We can't even imagine going through that type of experience. How would you say that has changed your life?
It's changed my life in a lot of ways, but one is, I'm obviously more attuned to the political debates and the cultural problems, and it's something that I've dedicated a large portion of my life since to focus on some of these things and try to avoid these kinds of situations in the future with different things that I do with speaking about character development and respect for life and motivating students across the country.
So let's talk about this letter to the president. This is just one of the things that you mentioned that you've done. Why did you write this letter? And tell our viewers who maybe haven't read it yet, what do you think are the key points? What do you really want to get out there and into the national conversation?
Well, yeah, I wrote the letter because I was getting interviewed by a friend of mine, editor at theblaze.com, old friend. We go back 14 years. He knew my situation, and we'd worked together before, and asked me several different questions. And one of them was, if you got to talk to President Obama, what would you say to him? And that was in an email, so I started typing, and that's how the letter came to be. I sent it to him, and he published it as an open letter for me. And the key points that I wanted to make were, point by point, the initiatives that the president and a lot in Washington and the lobbyists are trying to pass are going to be more of a detriment than a help. They're not protecting the kids. They're infringing on, law-abiding citizens from protecting themselves, and they're really they're taking away from what really needs to happen. First, we need to protect our children. These kids and teachers are, it's happened time and time again where a murderous, student or somebody else goes into a school that they call gun-free zones, and these are just target-rich environments for these people that want to murder unimpeded for a good amount of time before somebody stops them.
Evan, if I could jump in there, because we actually spoke to one of the president's cabinet members last week, the Secretary of Education, Arnie Duncan, and he actually pointed to Columbine as an example, because there was an armed guard at your high school, as an example, essentially, that having a gun won't stop gun violence. And I'm curious on that one issue, what's your opinion on that?
Well, yeah, Columbine did have one security officer with a gun, and that's not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying that citizens, teachers, parents, volunteers, licensed that have CCW, carried concealed weapons permits, should be allowed to carry on school properties. There'll be more opportunities. I don't want to put all my faith in one person, because if you have more law-abiding citizens that can protect themselves and others, then the chances are greater that they'll stop a murderer from murdering.
And that's the one solution you see, one of the solutions you see for keeping our children safe. Evan, it's a provocative letter. Just real quick, how can viewers get in touch with you? Are you on Twitter, social media? What's the best way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, actually, you can find me at pathufindmedia.com. That's PATHUFIND.